back. Shalom. Salam alaikum. Namaste. Como está? Welcome. Aludin. Welcome. So, my brother was telling me about a question that was asked to him. The question was, do you think it's possible for martial law to be declared and they lock down everything? Martial law has been in effect, but let's find out why it's been in effect. Martial. There's a court martial. A court martial. We're gonna get to we're gonna get to the martial law, but this is a part of anyway. A court martial, a military court convened under authority of government and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ. If you've ever been in the military, you know what the UCMJ is. 10 U.S.C.A. Section 801 for trying and punishing offenses committed by members of the armed forces. Such courts exist and have their jurisdiction by virtue of the military law. Right? Military law. Keep that in mind. The court being constituted and empowered to act in each instance by authority from a commanding officer. Right? That's court martial. Right? You have law martial. C. Martial law. Martial law. So, what is martial law? Martial law exists when military authorities carry on government or exercise various degrees of control over civilians or civilian authorities in domestic territories. That's Ochikubu versus Bone Steel. And these are the records where you can find them. A system of law obtaining only in time of actual war and growing out of the exigencies exigencies Mama also says if you don't know a word, what? Look it up. What is exigency? Word from the 1580s. Quote, that which is needed, end quote. From Middle French, exigence. From Latin, exigentia, quote, urgency, end quote. From exigentum, nominative exigens. Present participle of exigere or exigere, quote, demand, require, enforce, end quote, literally, to drive or force out. Also, to finish, measure, from X, out, see X, plus agir, or agir, but agir, to set in motion, drive forward, to do, perform, from pi. No, that's Proto Indo European or pre Indo European root ag, to drive, draw, out or forth, move. Meaning state of being urgent is from or is from 1769. Related exigencies 1650s, or that which is needed. So, growing out of the exigencies thereof, arbitrary in its character and depending only on the will of the commander of an army, which is established and administered in a place or district of hostile territory held in belligerent possession, or sometimes in places occupied or pervaded by insurgents or mobs, and which suspends all existing civil laws. Suspends all existing civil laws, as well as the civil authority and the ordinary administration of justice. And there's the court case, which you can look up. See also military law, right? Because martial law is military law. Is there a military? Yes, there is. Where is it governed from or commanded from? The District of Columbia. Is Columbia a hostile territory? Is Columbia a hostile territory? Oh, let's see what's going on in Colombia. We'll come back to it. All right. So, quote, martial law, which is built upon no settled principles, but is entirely arbitrary in its decisions, is in truth and reality no law, but sometimes indulged rather than allowed as a law. The necessity of order and discipline in an army is the only thing which can give it countenance, and therefore it ought not to be permitted in time of peace, when the king's courts are open for all persons to receive justice according to the laws of the land. End quote. And I don't know what this citation is, but I'm going to find out. It says martial law is neither more nor less than the will of the general who commands the army. It overrides and suppresses all existing civil laws, civil officers, and civil authorities by the arbitrary exercise of military power. And every citizen, every citizen or subject, subject, where's the subject? In other words, the entire population of the country within the confines of its power is subjected to the mere will or caprice of the commander. He holds the lives, liberties, and property of all in the palm of his hand. Martial law is regulated by no known or established system or code of laws, as it is over and above all of them. Huh. The commander is the legislator, judge, and executioner. That's what martial law is. All right? Military law. What is the executive branch? All right. First, let's go to the last. Martial. Naval courts. Martial. Martial. That are tribunals for the trial of offenses arising in the management of public war vessels. That's dealing with naval law. All right. So that's what martial law is. Let's ask the Google. Let's ask the AI. When has martial law been declared in the U.S.? Let's check out the Wikipedia. The Wikipedia. The Wikipedia. They should be paying me. Let's put on some music. several periods in the
Compact Party states. To fully answer the question, what is the United States, its forbidden history and the very presumption for supporting it that we are free, must first be examined. We will forego our opinions for the moment, and examine the record. If you sincerely believe that you are free from bondage, because you can't see, hear, taste, smell or touch it, you will understand after completing this reading that your awareness of this possibility is not a necessary condition for its existence. Contrary to popular opinion, all that those who fought and died for in the war for independence was rendered null and void just a few short years after the battle ended. The British soldiers were recalled, but the bankers were not. The so-called United States is but a tool, a Trojan horse, if you will, and you are the subject of those who control it, for the money kings, the ancient money changers of modern-day money mechanics. As a backdrop to the so-called American Revolution, here is a brief overview of the economic forces that were being unleashed in Britain around the time of the Revolution. It provides important background and insight for you to understand that the money kings use everyone and everything as pawns, including governments, in a world game of monopoly. They never operate out in the light of day. They prefer anonymity. You can only know them through their agents and their state apparatus of their countries they control. The following 9 paragraphs examine their methods of operation, modus operandi, and the strategies behind them. The economic juggernaut these money kings set in motion toppled everything in its wake, including the fledgling New Republic. Ask yourself while you read them, do you see evidence of these same practices operating in your world today? The money power of the world entered upon a new and grander era of development when steam was applied to manufactures. In 1774, Mr. Watt perfected the steam engine. This new servant of man, mightier than the genii of Oriental fable, was at once set to work propelling manufactures. The power loom, the spinning jenny and the cotton gin were soon afterward invented, giving a great impulse to the steam manufacturing industry. The conditions of the time threw steam manufactures entirely into the hands of the London money power. Great Britain was the only country in Europe which had coal and iron for steam purposes. The capitalists of the East India Company were the only people in the world with capital to engage in the new industry. The great trading companies of other countries had been broken down by British conquests. Enriched by the trade of the Orient and the tropics, these London capitalists at once seized the opportunity events offered them. Chance serves a prepared mind, and embarked energetically in steam manufactures. The East India Company, as such, did not engage in these manufactures. All the stockholders would not wish to invest in them, so large a corporation would be unwieldy, the immensity of the monopoly might excite alarm and provoke opposition. It would serve them better to operate through smaller corporations. A few capitalists might hold the stock of a great number of them without exciting jealousy, and their management would be quiet and easy. The different corporations were like the regiments of an army. It was easy to form them into brigades and divisions and army corps, in order to give them the compact solidity of a grand military organization. It had the flexibility of individual enterprise, and the solidity of despotism. The money kings adopted the policy of single corporate companies for each special enterprise. They built manufactories of all kinds. They started iron mills, woolen mills, and cotton mills. Manufactures of all kinds sprung up everywhere. The money kings organized new joint stock corporations, which built mills and manufactories. New companies operated mines of coal and iron, as commerce energetically expanded through manufactures wrought by steam power. They organized new companies, which built vessels to plow the waters of every ocean, and built new warehouses. They established new trading stations all over the earth. Commerce had languished in previous ages because the Earth's temperate zone did not have sufficiently cheap products suited to tropical demand to offer in exchange for tropical productions. Steam manufactures opened up a new commercial era. They greatly stimulated tropical production, by offering manufactures in those markets. They also greatly stimulated industry in the temperate zone. In all the countries of the temperate zone, the demand for the manufactures of Britain was far beyond the ability to pay for them with exports. The first effect of this state of things was a wave of excitement that swept over Great Britain. An industrial boom was started. Everybody had money invested in the stock of manufacturing companies, shipping companies, trading companies. The money kings took care to have the majority of stock, outside companies for steam manufactures they knew they could devour at their leisure. The Grand Money Kings had such advantages in their immense capital and in their perfect organization, that in commercial crises, often originated and always manipulated by them, they managed systematically to break down rival companies and buy them out. They robbed and plundered the minority stockholders. In the end, these organized capitalists got into their own hands, and for a pittance of the true value, all, or the greater part of, the stock of the various companies, manufacturing, mercantile and shipping, that originated in steam manufactures. They thus reduced to a system and a science the art of crushing rival companies and freezing out minority stockholders. Their whole career was a systematic course of treachery, fraud, and plunder, without a parallel in history. They advanced step by step, always causing a boom in every new enterprise that enlisted much outside capital, always managing to operate within seasons of business disaster. They lost a few 100,000 by falling prices, a loss which they were abundantly able to stand, while making many millions by obtaining cheaply the stock of broken corporations and the stock sold by minority stockholders. Dealing in futures and boards of trade was then started on a grand scale. This system originated for the purpose of enabling large capitalists to force stocks up or down as they chose, by dint of capital, without any regard to the actual value, the most satanic engine of trickery, fraud, and oppression ever devised to enable the strong to plunder the weak. It is the dragnet with which the money kings destroy multitudes of men of small means. Like the fisherman takes fish in his redemption they are fishermen and the rest of mankind is their prey. They are always seeking after spoil. They are always dragging their net for the destruction of the unwary. But aside from this plunder of the weak and the trusting, the regular profits of the new age of industry were very large. In every social construct or compact of the temperate zone, the ongoing demand for British manufactures was much greater than could be paid for by exports. The difference in the balance of trade was always systematically arranged by lending money on mortgage for that amount, or by spending the amount of the deficit in starting some business enterprise in that locale of so-called country. In this way, the adverse balance of trade was not felt by the economic community of the locality falling behind. It bought all it wanted, and the adverse balance of trade actually made times better, for it caused the profits of the money kings to be invested in the so-called country, stimulating business into activity. The disadvantage was the business investment did not belong to the so-called nation, but to the money kings, and the prosperity it caused was not national prosperity, but was the bloated gains of the money kings. The regular method of the money kings for the last 100 years has been to start new manufactures, new shipping companies, new trading companies, gather in all the outside capital possible, freeze out minority stockholders, and throttle outside corporations. This effectively indebted all nations to them. First, they would make parasitic investments equal to the amount of the deficit of the balance of trade. This was done by putting in the profits derived from the East India Company. Then, after investing these profits, they would continually reinvest any future profits of all their enterprises in each and every country until their investments accumulated like rolling balls of snow, to at last become an avalanche under which to bury the prosperity of the world.